So a lot of people ask me, why should I go to Woodbadge? What's in it for me? I'm not a diehard scouter, or I'm not really active in scouting. I don't really hold a leadership role. Um, what's the big deal? And I'll let you know why I went and why I continue to serve as a staff member. First of all, it allowed me to bring the vision of scouting home to my unit, to my Cub Scout pack. Uh, we had we were doing pretty good, but I thought there was something that we could do better, but I didn't quite know what it was. So by going to Woodbadge, I got to see what the true vision of scouting was from the founder, Lord Robert Baden-Powell, and how I can deliver it to the youth that are within our community, within our pack, and soon to be in our troop. So that was the biggest part, was what does this actually look like? Because I see it in the books, I see videos online, I do online training. I see concepts, but I hadn't seen what it actually looks like when it's how it's supposed to run, how it's actually supposed to operate, and be at that high performing level, so that I could actually mirror that, so I could model that and have that with my youth in our community. So that was a big part. Um, but it was just a fraction of it. So Woodbadge for me did a number of things outside of scouting, and one of which was in my career. So I was kind of spinning my wheels. I had been in kind of the same job with my employer for about 7 or 8 years at that point, and we have really good retention. So our talent pool is really deep, and because there people stick around a long time, there's not a lot of opportunities to come up. So you'd have a position open up every 2 or 3 years, and you'd have 10 or 15 people apply for it, and they'd all be really, really well suited for it. And I was looking for an X factor. I was looking for a way to try to get that extra point on the interview panel, so I could actually move up. So Woodbadge gave me a huge boost. The first time when I went through as a participant, I interviewed about 3 weeks later after I came back from my Woodbadge experience, and I was on fire. That was perhaps one of the best interviews I'd ever had in the course of my life. And I had all of the answers that I had been kind of looking for in the past, but I just didn't quite know how to articulate it because I didn't see what it looked like um, in actual, being done. And with Woodbadge, when you're there, you actually get to see what those concepts look like in real life and how they interact with real people, and not just basic concepts and bullet points on a PowerPoint or in a book or on a 5-minute YouTube video that says you should really do this and this is how your team's going to respond. At Woodbadge, you get to see what actual people do when they're in those situations and when you're trying to affect change. And it gives you immediate feedback to what works, what doesn't work, and what you can change, so you can try to keep moving forward. I went back as a staff member the following year and had another position come up. And that time, I was the subject that I was teaching at the Woodbadge course fell directly in line with what I was applying for. And that was another interview that, had I not gone to Woodbadge, I wouldn't have had those extra points to be able to say, this is the change that I want to see, or I have the ability to affect within our organization, and this is how I've done this in the past at my Woodbadge experience, or this is what I'm teaching, and these are the core concepts. So it gave me a huge boost there. That my wife, she was real hesitant, like that's a long time to be away. 5 days or 6 days. It's 6 days at the time. That's a long time to be away from the family, but it's paid dividends. My income has gone up almost 40% directly from the skills and knowledge, the experiences that I've gained from Woodbadge. Right now, we're in lockdown right now for the coronavirus, and the communication skills that I have gained and knowing how to work through the stages of team development with my family as we are spending a tremendous amount of time together right now is huge. And I have a lot of friends that aren't necessarily involved in scouting or haven't been to Wood Badge yet, and they're really struggling right now because their interaction as a family was they'd see each other for 10 or 15 minutes in the morning, and then they'd make it home for dinner, might do some recreation, and then shut her down for the night. And they do that 5 days in a row. And then on the weekends, they'd split off in like six different directions because they had all different activities that they were doing. And then they might get some family time on Sunday. But really, it was, they lived in the same house, but they weren't necessarily functioning as a team. And with this lockdown that we're in, that has really forced people to use some communication skill or gain some communication skills and actually interact at a different level compared to what they've been doing for months, weeks, years prior to this. So I find that the skills that I've gained for communication are huge right now. To be able to really hold our family together to where we're not at each other's necks. Because spending that much time isolated from other families, from your friends, from coworkers, and from folks that you go to school with, it opens your eyes that you have some fantastic human beings that you get to spend so much time with that you kind of take for granted sometimes. The big part that I really enjoyed about Wood Badge is that it's a lot of fun. So I'm not sure how much you've heard about it, but as a participant, we model what a Scouts BSA troop operates like. So you start out as a Cub Scout and you go through typical Cub Scout activities, including a blue and gold banquet and crossing over, and then you go through the troop and you work your way through just like the youth members of your units, the youth members of your family. You get to experience what they're experiencing through their eyes and through their shoes. And it helps you not only fly through the experience, because before you know it, it'll be the last day of the course, and like, oh my gosh, well, I just got here. And I've got 50 new lifelong friends and all these ideas that I'm going to take home to my family and to my scouting experience and to work and to my faith. What happened? It was so quick because it's so much fun. I tell you, you'll eat like a king. It's not like typical scout camp food that's geared for 9-year-olds or 12-year-olds, depending upon what camp you're going to. Because we know it's important that you eat really well, because if you're struggling through training during the day and then you've got 3 meals that you're really not looking forward to, it's going to be all that much harder for you to really have fun, to be engaged. So our camp staff does a fantastic job of making sure that you're fed really well. The last question I get really often is, would I do it again? And I would do it 100 times out of 100. I had a really difficult personal experience when I went through as a participant, and that happened outside of camp, that really kind of framed how the rest of the week went for me. And it was through the fellowship and the camaraderie and the family that I gained there at Wood Badge that really helped me get through that when I was away from my family. And it really kept me from spiraling into what could have been a really dark moment in my life. So for that, I'm eternally grateful to the patrol and the staff members and the troop that I was with when I went through as a participant. But mainly because it's fun, and I've made a ton of money more out of it, and that's the part that my wife loves. She sees the dollar signs at the end of the month when we're looking at our bank account compared to 4 or 5 years ago before I got into Wood Badge, and knows that when I go into an interview, when I go to talk to other people, I can speak with confidence, that I can speak with competency, that I actually know what I'm talking about. And sincerity, that I'm genuinely interested in trying to improve the lives of others. So if you're thinking about Wood Badge, do it. If you're on the fence, I don't know what to tell you other than you're missing out. You're missing out on an experience that could improve your life and improve the lives around you substantially. So think about it. But we've got 2 great courses coming up, one the first week of June and another one 2 weekends in September. Check out the dates on the website. But really, it's it's all about what's in each and every one of us. So Wood Batch does a great job of just doing the best to come out and make the very best experience that you can for those around you, at home, at work, at school, at faith, all those places. It checks all the boxes. Thanks.